Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the PSP, and welcome to another recap straight after the London derby between Arsenal and Chelsea, the game that ended 3-1 at the Emirates Stadium. Like, comment on the video, share, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications to receive all the updates that you can find here from match recaps and the podcast as well, and other content on this channel, of course. Follow us on social media at PSP on Twitter, Pitchside Pod on Instagram, and listen to the podcast on Spotify or any other platform, or you can find it at www.webreathesports.com, and more football articles, of course, written by yours truly. This game, I think, was the best game Arsenal had in a while, really. It was an incredible game compared to the expectations that were set for that side, really. The youth with the solution, eventually, really. Arsenal started, of course, with Martinelli, Smith Rowe, and Bukayo Saka up front. Give that man a raise, by the way, Bukayo Saka. He was incredible. The first 18 to 20 minutes were a little bit of a tit-for-tat stuff. There was no real venom for any of teams. Chelsea didn't exactly set the world on fire. They weren't exactly hitting on all cylinders. Timo Werner having another shocker of a game. Yes, Arsenal were pinned to their defence in the first 18-20 minutes, with Chelsea having more possession, but that doesn't count too much, really. If you saw the last couple of games for Chelsea as well, the form that Arsenal were heading into this game with was so bad that everybody was expecting a loss that would, derail their momentum even more in this Premier League season. For Chelsea, there were also on a couple of hiccups, but certainly the last victory against West Ham seemed like it's going to be bringing them back to the right way, but that certainly didn't happen. After the first 20 minutes of the game, Arsenal went forward and won more confidence as the game grew further. They realised quickly, I think, that Reece James and Ben Chilwell were not in the best of forms, particularly Reece James on the right-hand side. Gabriel Martinelli and Kieran Tierney were running at him and causing all sorts of trouble with the overlaps and the interlink play between those two. Eventually, it was a penalty for Arsenal that opened the scoring, brilliantly drawn, by the way, via a good team play between Martinelli, Smith Rowe and Tierney on that left-hand side. It was a soft penalty. It was one of those that could have been given and could not been given, but we cannot really debate VAR. It's not time to debate VAR in the Premier League. The penalty was given, and Alexander Lacazette converted from the spot for the 1-0 lead. And afterwards, I think it was a different game altogether. Chelsea seemed, for all the speed and the pace they have up front, they seemed lacking of solution, lacking of penetration. They weren't direct. They didn't find spaces. Timo Werner, again, as I mentioned, had another shocker of a performance, really. And I think the Chelsea fans' patience is growing thin of his performance. Arsenal was so compact, unusually compact, I think, for their performances this season, with changing of the formation. They were, I think, better. Saka and Smith Rowe and Martinelli were doing the defensive job that they used to do. They only left Lacazette pretty much up front, waiting for the counter. And Arsenal really had more possession. They swarmed Chelsea's defence by the end of the first half, and Granit Xhaka added the second goal via a beautiful free kick from outside 25 metres, really, from the net. No chance for Edouard Mendy. It was 2-0 at half-time, and everything looked good for Arsenal heading into the break. Frank Lampard realised, okay, we need to make the changes, and he did have some changes. He subbed on both Callum Hudson-Odoi and Jorginho at the start of the second half, of course, for Kovacic, and expectedly, I would say, more importantly, Timo Werner, who have he had a bad performance on the pitch today, but that didn't really help because Arsenal started with the same strength that they started that he finished the first half on, and Bukayo Saka with a beautiful goal that started all the way back from Leno. Actually, it was a brilliant team goal. Like, literally, it was a goal for goal action. Started from Leno, went throughout the right hand side of the pitch. Lacazette, Smith Rowe and Bukayo Saka with not a shot exactly. I reckon it was a cross, but it deflected into the net. Not deflected really, but it found its way somehow into the net, misleading Edouard Mendy, and for the third goal for Arsenal. And Arsenal didn't even regress after that. They had more chances to score the fourth. Chelsea came in with Kai Havertz, looked a little bit better in the last 15 minutes of the game as Arsenal started to fade away. They started to lose their stamina and started to drop physically. Eventually they scored, of course, with Tammy Abraham after the assist from Callum Hudson-Odoi. He made a big difference, I think, from that right hand side compared to what Timo Werner was doing before him in the game. Chelsea had a golden opportunity to really come back into the game and to give themselves more chances to come back into the game with 5 minutes at stoppage time, but Jorginho missed a penalty. I mean, his penalty ethics are really bad at the moment. I mean, these penalties became too readable now for the goalkeepers. Leno didn't move early, and he moved at the right time to save that penalty from Jorginho, and that was the last opportunity for Chelsea to come back at the game. They were better in the last 15 minutes, but that doesn't count because on the whole, Arsenal deserved their win thoroughly. And again, the youth bring in the solution. Martinelli and Saka and Smith Rowe, they all supported, like I said. It looks at a certain point now that these trio that I mentioned, Saka, Martinelli and Smith Rowe, are absolutely better than the experienced quote-unquote side of Arsenal. An important victory, a crucial victory, a monumental, I would say, victory for Arsenal that would lift them somewhere out of that zone. I mean, not far really. They're only 14th now on the table, but that could be a good start. They still have a better week to come. They have both two sides that are above them on the table. They need the 6 points out of the next two games in between Brighton and West Brom. Brighton play Arsenal on Monday and West Brom next week on New Year's Day. That's an important victory. Arsenal should now find the motive and follow the motivation now. Arteta saved his job. Arsenal sort of saved their reputation. They won a derby after all. It's more important than anything. And the players now seem to find the rhythm. They showed more character. They played for their manager. And it's an important victory overall for Arsenal that really should give them the head start that they need in the season to turn around their miserable fortune for the last couple of months. That's all I had to say for the London derby, Arsenal versus Chelsea game. Again, an important victory for Arsenal with the youth making the difference. Like, comment on the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, of course, enable notifications to receive all the updates for this recaps, the podcast and other content on this channel. Follow us on social media at PSP and PitchSide Twitter, on Instagram, and listen to the podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you can get it from. I was your boy, the HOD of the PSP, and until tomorrow with the podcast episode, I will see you soon. Goodbye.